The rotation in the Pokemon TCG has happened. 2023 standard format. A bunch of old cards are out of the format. A bunch of new cards are in. And that is, if you're looking to play Pokemon TCG in standard format, then when you look at these League Battle Deck options, where they stand relative to rotation is going to be part of how you think about these decks and which ones you want and which ones to avoid. Now, we are going to be ranking all of the current League Battle decks you can buy in the store. This is an update from a previous ranking that I did a couple months back. I'll put the previous link in the description of this video. But yeah, we're going to rank the League Battle decks, the top 6 from worst to best. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the rankings of the current decks you can find in the store. Now, I do want to say up front, the Inteleon League Battle deck is not going to be in this discussion anymore. We are in a post-rotation world, and pretty much all of the cards in this deck have rotated out. I would not recommend picking this deck up at all unless you really want, if Inteleon's your favorite Pokemon and you want to play this deck in expanded and you want some of the shady dealings cards, but there are better decks that have the shady dealing stuff in there that we'll talk about in a sec. At this point, I just don't bother picking this deck up. So this is not going to be in the rankings. All right. Number 6 is the Single Strike Urshifu VMAX League Battle deck. Single Strike Urshifu has not been meta relevant for quite some time. Pretty much since Fusion Strike came out, Mew absolutely ate its lunch. And on top of that, Single Strike Urshifu was just kind of clunky to begin with. Even within the context of this League Battle deck, you're only getting a 2/2 line of Urshifu, and most of the time this deck was being played with Umbreon, which at this point kinda isn't a great partner either. So this deck is already underpowered to begin with. On top of that, it's not meta relevant really right now, and the cards are going to rotate early. The next rotation, pretty much this deck isn't going to exist. I think the only reason you would pick this up at this point is if you're trying to build the single strike version of Lugia V-Star. Now, Lugia V-Star isn't a single strike Pokemon. However, it does use single strike cards such as Tyranitar, Stonjourner, Single Strike Energy, and Urn of Vitality. That being said, you're not going to get Single Strike Tyranitar in the League Battle deck. You will get the Stonjourner, you will get the Energy, you will get the Urn of Vitality. You'll also get like Professor's Research and Boss's Orders. But in the grand scheme of things, you are getting very few cards you can use in the Lugia deck. You would get it just for spare parts. And if you were not thinking about rotation and you just wanted to play a League Battle deck, this is probably the weakest one of the bunch. So this is at the bottom of our list. At number 5, the Rapid Strike Urshifu League Battle deck. Now this one, I'm willing to take some arguments here because Rapid Strike Urshifu is kind of seeing a little bit of a resurgence. Well, let's go look at this tournament deck list from Limitless TCG, and Urshifu's kind of making a comeback here, partnered up with Inteleon VMAX, where between the two of them, they have really good matchups against some of the most relevant decks in the meta right now, including Lost Box and Miraidon. However, when it comes to buying the Urshifu League Battle deck, you're only getting a 2/2 line of Urshifu. The Rapid Strike cards are still also going to be they're still going to be standard relevant, but a lot of the other cards have rotated out and you can't use them in standard play anymore. And I think it's a little better if you're going to grab the spare parts to build a deck like this, but it's going to be a ton of work to take that Rapid Strike Urshifu deck and build it into something like this. Is it possible? Yes. Irrespective of formats and you're looking for a fun deck to play, this one, absolutely. Rapid Strike Urshifu is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon to play. G-Max Rapid Flow is one of the coolest moves in the Pokemon TCG, and it's really fun to find that challenge of like, how do you distribute your damage over the course of multiple turns in order to take the win? And in that regard, ton of fun to play, and it's a little more relevant than single strike Urshifu, but you're gonna have to do a ton of work to make turn this deck into this deck, which is why it's number 5 on the list. Number 4 is taking a bit of a tumble here. This is the Ice Rider Calyrex League Battle deck. At one point, this was the best League Battle deck to get, and arguably the most complete League Battle deck. You're getting 3/3 Shadow Rider Calyrex, you're getting the full Shady Dealings line, you're getting pretty much all the techs to make this out of the box. This was pretty much the ideal Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX deck. Unfortunately, rotation has happened, and a number of cards that were pivotal to this deck have rotated out, including the Shady Dealings engine. So if you're looking to play this in Expanded, I don't think Ice Rider's a particularly strong deck in Expanded, but if you don't care about formats and you're playing this casually, this is an amazing deck to get and play. But if you're looking to play this in Standard, most of the cards here don't really work anymore. Basically, the Ice Rider Calyrex V and VMAX are salvageable, along with like Professor's Research and Boss's Orders. That being said, if you already have the Ice Rider Calyrex League Battle deck, I would not yeet it into the garbage just yet. Not to say that people yeet their Pokemon cards in the garbage, but there are builds of current post-rotation decks that do feature Ice Rider Calyrex. Here's an example of a Ice Rider Calyrex with Palkia VSTAR deck, and you can actually build most of this by taking the Ice Rider cards from the Ice Rider deck and then pairing them with the upcoming Palkia League Battle deck, and that would get you a pretty strong deck that is fairly close to what is displayed here. So this is going to be number 4 on the list, Ice Rider Calyrex. Really hard to recommend unless you already have like the Palkia one, or you already have this and can turn it into the Ice Rider Palkia deck I'm showing here. Number 3, kind of making its way up, and I think this is a debatable number 2 as well, and I'll explain in a sec. Number 3 on this list, Ice Rider or Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. This one also got hit by rotation, but not as bad as Ice Rider. All of the Pokemon have survived rotation, and a couple of trainer cards in here have survived as well. Not only that, Shadow Rider Calyrex has seen some fringe success in the post-rotation world. Let me show you one example of a deck list here. We've got the Shadow Rider Calyrex line with Klefki to help stall for time. We've also seen this deck built with the Gardevoir line, which I'm actually going to have a video for. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'll put the link in the description for this one as well. You can pair it with Gardevoir, you can pair it with Radiant Eternatus, you can pair it with Arceus. You can pair it with like Deoxys VMAX, you can pair it with Mewtwo V-Star. There are a lot of different ways to make Shadow Rider Calyrex work in the current meta. Now, its ceiling is not necessarily the highest, but if you're looking to have like a flexible deck that you can kind of tweak in many different ways, Shadow Rider Calyrex is also a ton of fun to play, decently strong. The deck by itself as is, irrespective of formats, is one of the most complete decks built as well. This one's a lot of fun. I think that one could argue that this should be number 2 on the list, because the number 2 deck gets absolutely destroyed in the current meta. However, because a bunch of some of the cards here have rotated out versus the number 2 deck where that is rotation safe. On top of that, rotation next year is going to obliterate this deck. So you've got about a year of time to make the Shadow Rider Calyrex deck work. That being said, if you're watching this at the time of release, a year is a pretty long time to get out of a standard rotation deck, and Shadow Rider Calyrex at this point is a pretty decent pickup if you're willing to spice up the deck with a couple of modern techs, whether you go with Radiant Eternatus, with the Gardevoir line, with Klefki, and so on. Controversial number 2, the Palkia V-Star deck. I know at the time of this recording, this video or this deck is not out yet, but I have had a chance to play we played this on stream, and I have the YouTube video. I'll put the link for this in the description of this video as well. And I will say, out of the box, it is very well built. I had a ton of fun playing it. It does mirror pretty closely to what a post-rotation Palkia VSTAR deck looks like. So here's one with Ice Rider, here's one without Ice Rider, and really they've just put in like Klefki's and a Drapion, but the core of this deck is largely what you would get in the League Battle deck. I think this deck is incredibly strong out of the box. It's a ton of fun to play. I think the one glaring thing is that I wish it had a third Palkia V-Star, but it does have Clara in there, which you can use to get one of your Palkia V-Stars back. And the biggest thing here is that this deck is rotation safe. It's going to also mostly survive next year's 2024 rotation as well, which puts it in the number 2 spot. Really strong deck. I love how it's built, and it's going to survive the next rotation. The problem with this deck is that Miraidon at the time of this recording is wildly popular in at least PTCG Live. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a pretty popular archetype in competitive play as well. And if you're looking to play on that front, you might get bodied really bad because Palkia gets hit for weakness by Miraidon, and that is something to consider. So if you think like, oh, I would actually put Palkia at number 3 and Shadow Rider at number 2 because of the Miraidon factor, I think that's totally fair. I am putting Palkia at number 2 because I still think it's a more complete deck. It is, at least it's a more complete deck for post-rotation and post-rotation. Its ceiling is potentially, I don't know if its ceiling's a little higher. It's probably around the same as a fully built Shadow Rider deck as well. Both like good solid rogue tier decks once they're fully built out. But it does survive the next rotation while Shadow Rider does not. And the number 1 deck, oh, I should show, by the way, like, yeah, here's the same Ice Rider Palkia deck that I showed before. Here's a version with 4/4 Palkia, and then they've got Klefki as their tech in here as well. And the number 1 League Battle deck, still Mew VMAX. I don't think this should be a surprise to anyone. Mew VMAX has been one of, if not the best deck in the game, and post-rotation, it is still one of the strongest decks in the game to play. Whether you are playing it with the DTE build, as it's commonly called, or you're playing a heavy Counts of Path to the Peak and you don't have Meloetta in it with the Fusion Energy, or you are playing the version with Meloetta and the Fusion Energy, both takes on the deck are incredibly strong, and my favorite. Mew VMAX is still my all-time favorite deck to play. Now, the thing about Mew VMAX that is the elephant in the room is that Mew VMAX is not going to survive the 2024 rotation. At this point in time, we don't know when rotation is going to happen. I would assume at this point that rotation is going to be in the spring every year going forward. So I would presume that it's going to rotate out like March, April 2024. So you've got about, at the time of this recording, about a year left with the Mew VMAX League Battle deck. That being said, if you're looking at the Palkia deck and you're looking at the Mew deck and you're like, well, the Palkia deck is going to survive next year and the Mew VMAX deck is not, I would still go with the Mew VMAX League Battle deck, because this deck is going to be, at best, a rogue tier deck when fully tricked out, and it's going to be a struggle bus for wins here and there, especially with the current meta. I mean, things might change. Miraidon might fall off a cliff and make this deck a little more viable, but I still think the ceiling for Palkia is going to be rogue-ish territory. Meanwhile, a fully built-out Mew VMAX League Battle deck is going to be one of the best decks in the game, and probably continue to be until the next time we make this list, at which point things are going to be different. So yeah, the two big gotchas for Mew VMAX are that, one, it rotates in full next year, not going to be able to use it at all in standard play, and two, I don't think this is the most complete deck in the way that it's built. Having only 2 Genesects and then 2 of each Mew make the deck play a little weird, versus something like the Palkia deck where, yeah, you're missing 1 Palkia V-Star, but you can largely play 2/3 of a match without really noticing a difference and then having to play Clara at some point to get that last Palkia, versus Mew VMAX, where the League Battle deck out of the box is kind of gimped as is. I would strongly recommend, if you're going to get the League Battle deck, either buy a second copy of a League Battle deck or buy the singles. And that would be like 2 more copies of Genesect V, 2 more copies of Mew VMAX, and at least 1 or 2 more copies of Mew V and 1 more copy of Mew VMAX, and then you are rolling. All right, so that does it for my updated rankings of the League Battle decks. We are going to do this again later this year, probably at some point after the next round of League Battle decks are announced. And I put out a video on my predictions of what I think the next League Battle decks are. I'll put a link in the description here as well. I'm not going to spoil it. Go watch the video. And yeah, let me know. Do you think I got the order right? Do you think I got the order wrong? Last time I did this video, there were some very passionate opinions about where I should have ranked these. And I do admit it was a little tough ranking it because how all these decks fit in the meta and all of the different considerations, but this is where I landed. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Twitch fam, stick around, but we got to say goodbye to YouTube right now. So feel free to say goodbye to YouTube over here. And we'll throw in some quick plugs. Before we go, you can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at @InThirdPerson. You can find me over on Twitch at @InThirdPerson, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I will see you later. Bye-bye.